Hello everybody. Today we are going to be looking at a mod I have been anticipating for a very long time, and that is the Fun Gang made by Miz. It brings in 3 new characters from Deltarune to the world of Don't Starve Together, fully fleshed out with new abilities, items, skins, quotes, voices, you name it. Normally I'm not a big fan of clearly non-canon feeling mods, but this one is just so beautifully put together, and I'm such a big Deltarune fan that I gotta make an exception this one time. Let's dive right in. Before we look at the individual characters, let's go over a feature that every one of them will use, and that is TP. Not toilet paper, but tension points. Think of these like a mana resource. You can slowly earn them over time whilst in combat and whilst attacking enemies, with TP being drained whilst you're out of combat. Essentially, it's exactly the same as what Wigfrid uses. All characters featured in this mod will use TP in some form for their abilities, so keep an eye on it. The first character we'll be looking at is the main human themselves, Kris. They're the main character of the party and have a selection of buffing abilities for the team, whilst also having sustain for themselves. They have 150 HP, 150 hunger, and a lower than average 125 sanity. Their starting item is the Wooden Blade, which houses pretty much all of their fancy abilities. But we'll look at that after the rest of their upsides and downsides. They have 50% less sanity drain from any rift-based creatures, both Shadow and Lunar, and have an increased susceptibility to sleep-based effect, with grogginess having an increased duration, and even a slowdown after sleeping. Don't know if you'd consider this one a upside or a downside, but they don't actually talk in-game, and instead have like some form of announcement to everything instead. This just functions as some kind of fancy form of quotes. Last thing to mention is that because they are a human, they deal 10% less damage with magic weapons and lose 10% more sanity as well. So do you remember that sword you spawned with? As well as letting you act, which we'll get to soon, don't worry, the sword itself will function as a sword, dealing 41 damage a hit and being unbreakable. Pretty potent for something that can last forever. If you lose it, you can just craft it again with some flint and a feather pencil at a lunar orb. But it's time we finally get to the real meat and potatoes of this mod, the acting abilities. When wielding Kris's sword, you can either right-click on your weapon when equipped to bring up your act wheel, or simply right-click anywhere to perform your last used act. These will use a certain amount of TP, which we went over earlier, to cast all sorts of abilities. The first of these, which every character can use, is Defend. This puts you in a temporary defensive posture that will block 90% of any damage in the direction you clicked. This ability will never cost any TP and can actually earn you some if you manage to block a hit with it. The next act for Kris is Courage. This will cost 25% TP and buff all nearby allies, including players and yourself, with 30% extra defense for 60 seconds. A big thing you're about to see with this mod is that a lot of the character abilities and items are designed to be used in a cooperative setting, which is very lovely for a game called Don't Starve Together. The third act is Soul Shine. This also costs 25% TP, and lets you shine your soul on any ally, or even yourself, to empower them for 45 seconds. For most non-Deltarune survivors, this will simply increase their attack by 50%. But for Deltarune specific survivors, it will instead unlock their unique group act, which varies per survivor. For Kris, that would be X-Slash. This costs, yet again, 25% TP and can only be used whilst empowered. When used, it allows you to perform a powerful double slash, dealing 100 planar damage in a line twice. That may be the last act Kris can perform, but they do have more tricks up their sleeve. Their sword can be empowered by using Pure Brilliance or Pure Horror on it, granting it an additional 34 planar damage, which also applies to the X-Slash we talked about just now. Additionally, Kris gains access to the Save Point, which is a quote-unquote structure that can be crafted with some empowered moon shards and some sanity. This can only ever be used, and even seen, by Kris, and lets them heal all nearby players 50 health and revive any dead ones up to 10 times per save point. Basically like a big, instant group sleeping bag that can also revive people. I love it so much. Finally, their favourite food is butterscotch cinnamon cake, which we'll get into how to make when we can make it. There are also some other things about Kris, but I'll leave that to you guys to figure out. I'm sure it's nothing bad. But on top of all of their abilities, you have full access to a wardrobe absolutely chock-a-block filled with gorgeously drawn outfits, as long as you have the custom skin API installed of course, a whole heap of excellent quote-unquote quotes with a ton of references to the game, and even a custom carol they can sing. Perfection. Next up in the Fun Gang roster, we have Ralsei. The fluffy boy himself brings a whole heap of support abilities to the table, with healing and cooking benefits. He has 125 health, 150 hunger, and 200 sanity. Their starting item is the Red Scarf, which, much like Kris's sword, is an unbreakable weapon that gives Ralsei access to his special selection of axe, and can also be upgraded to deal planar damage if you so wish, and recrafted if you lose it. But before we look at their new axe, let's look at their other special abilities that Ralsei has access to. First of all, his innate upsides are that he is completely unaffected by any sanity drain from darkness, both in the caves and on the surface, meaning he can live in the dark perfectly fine, which, makes sense as a darkener. As well as all of that, he is considered a shadow-aligned creature by default, giving him the reduced damage taken from shadow mobs, but also the increased damage taken from lunar ones. The upsides don't stop there, however, since other players can pet Ralsei up to twice a day for 5 sanity a pat. The best passive any character can ever have in any game ever. The final upside is that he heals 50% more and 50% faster with any healing item. He does sadly have a downside though, and that takes a form in a 15% damage reduction to all of his attacks, reduced to only 10% less of any Shadow Fuel based weapon, including his scarf. This really hammers into him that he is this support character, which you'll see very clearly when we look at his acts, which is right now. He has the same defend act that Kris has, where you can block 90% of any directional damage, despite it looking like full coverage, but his unique acts include Pacify. For the cost of 16% of your TP, you can put any and all monsters to sleep in a small radius around you, so long as their HP is either less than 100 or below half. Sadly, this doesn't let you recruit them, but it does offer you time to escape any nasty combat scenarios. Their second act is their Heal Prayer, a simple targeted heal that restores 25 HP for 25 TP. Cast it on yourself or allies, your pick. But if Kris shines their soul on you with their Soul Shine ability, you instead have access to Dual Heal. Swaps out the single target for an area target heal that restores twice as much HP to everyone around you, including you, for double the cost. Absolutely lovely. But what if you're one of many people that play Don't Starve together alone? How are you able to use these empowered abilities if there isn't a Kris present? Then you'll need to make the Horned Headband out of some Hound's Teeth and health. These consumable items will apply Kris's Soul Shine ability to Ralsei or Susie when used for 10 seconds, so you're able to have access to their abilities without Kris being present. But if Kris uses them, they can wear them instead. That's cute. This does nothing, by the way. Now that we've looked at all of Ralsei's acts, let's look at their other specialty, his Cauldron. This functions as a crockpot exclusive to Ralsei that only he can use, with the added benefit that it can cook 33% faster. It also gains access to 2 unique dishes, the Cauldron Cake, which restores 20 of every stat, and the Butterscotch Cinnamon Cake, which restores 40 health, 60 hunger, and 10 sanity, and is also Kris's favourite food. Sadly though, Ralsei only gets half the benefit from eating these items, since he only has half of them. The Cauldron though also has the added perk of doing that. Just like Kris, they have a full wardrobe of custom skins, quotes for literally almost everything in the entire game, and even a cute custom voice. But unlike Kris, he doesn't have any actual favourite food. Poor guy. But yeah, a fun, fluffy, support-based character. What's not to love about him? But enough about Toothpaste Boy. It's time for the last character in this mod, Susie. Or well, technically speaking, last characters in this mod. She offers perks around dealing damage and harvesting resources, and is more suited for solo play when compared to the other characters. That's not to say she doesn't work well in a group setting, however. She has 200 health, 150 hunger, and 150 sanity. Her starting items are the main axe, which again functions as an unbreakable, upgradable, recraftable, ability-using weapon, but could also chop trees, since, you know, it's an axe. Her other starting item is a playing card, that we'll look at very soon. Her upsides include the ability to ignore the penalty from eating stale food, and having a significantly reduced penalty from eating spoiled food. She can even eat some food items that are normally inedible to other characters, like grass and other roughage. This buff is countered by the downside of her getting hungrier a wee bit faster than other characters, but since you can eat like literally anything, who cares? Her other upside is that she loses slightly less sanity and deals slightly more damage when using magic weapons, on the account of her being a monster that can use magic. That's all good and all, but she might have quite possibly one of the weirdest and most interesting downsides I've seen in this game. Just like in Deltarune, she will not allow you to unequip armor-based items unless she already has another piece of armor equipped elsewhere. So, for example, if she's wearing a log suit and you want her to equip a backpack, then I sure hope you have a helmet, otherwise she ain't taking that log suit off. A very silly and very fitting downside for Susie, honestly. I love it. With her ups and downs out of the way, it's now time to talk about Susie's acts. She has the ability to block, again, like everybody else, functions the exact same way as all those two, but she also has access to her ultimate heal. This absolutely cracked ability costs all of your TP bar, and allows you to heal a single target for a whopping 2 HP. Only works on other targets, never yourself, and is absolutely a joke ability. But maybe if you practice casting the spell a little bit, it won't be a joke spell anymore. If you play Deltarune, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Her actual acts are her Buster abilities. The one she can cast on her own, Rude Buster, is a long-range planar strike that deals 75 damage, which is increased if you upgraded the axe, for a decent cost of 25% TP. Good to use in the middle of combat to deal a little extra hit of damage from a safe distance. But if you want some more oomph, then use the Red Buster, which can only be cast when empowered for a bigger cost of 50% TP. This strike deals a whopping 200 damage, as well as 25 splash damage in a small area around the initial hit, buffed if you've upgraded your axe, just like the Rude Buster. A big, massive damaging ability like that really nailed in the DPS part of Susie. But what about that resource gathering part I talked about earlier? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time we talk about Lancer. Yep, Lancer is Susie's starting item? You can chuck his card on the ground and the little guy will follow you around. He'll pick up anything on the ground for you, as well as dig up anything that needs to be dug, such as graves, tree stumps, or garden detritus. Cause, you know, he's a spade. But he's not just a spade, he's also capable in combat, functioning as a ranged minion that'll automatically shoot projectiles at anybody you've engaged in combat with for a tidy 30 planar damage a shot. Sadly though, Lancer is not a part of this world, and will slowly lose health over time as he moves closer and closer to petrification. If his health reaches 0, he'll turn into a stone statue, stopping in place and halting all of his actions. You can then pick him back up to restore him back to card form, which will then slowly restore his health as long as he's in your inventory. But if you forget and you don't pick him up in time and he stays a statue for about a day, he will crumble away and die. But you can always just craft a new one with a shovel, card and some health with the Moon Orb. Don't expect to have multiple Lancers though, since you can only ever have one active at a time. That pretty much wraps up Susie and Lancer though. An unstoppable DPS resourcing duo. Chop trees with your axe and let Lancer harvest the stumps, and hack into enemies while he blasts little spades at them. My personal favourite character of this mod, I love it so much. And of course, she has her own big old repertoire of quotes, and even a really cool voice. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, Susie's favourite food is cauldron cake, which is again another Ralsei exclusive craft, just like Kris's favourite food. But that, as it seems, wraps up this mod spotlight for today. There are some features I didn't go over in this video, but I'll leave that up to you guys to find. I covered the main chunk of the features though. This mod, for lack of a better term, absolutely rocks. The art is perfect, the abilities are fun and synergistic, and the extra stuff on top with custom skins, fully fleshed out config options, nice quotes, and even a bloomin' main menu if you have mods in the menu installed, is a clear display of just how much love and attention went into this mod. As someone who is a huge fan of both Deltarune and Don't Starve, this feels like a dream come true. Massive props to the author, and for all those watching at home, please go and check out the mod right now. The link is in the description like always. I am very excited to see what the future holds for this mod. More acting abilities, alternative items, insight trees, maybe even like, I don't know, a playable Noelle character? Oh, I can only speculate. But for now, I'm gonna have fun doing a couple playthrough with my friends. Hope you all do the same. Cheers for watching everybody, have a lovely day. Bye bye.